is the director of Tulane Sports Laws program. He is a good man. He's a friend, and he is back again to try and make heads or tails of Deflategate that will never go away. Gabe Feldman here on The Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Gabe?
Hi, Rich.
By the way, I never go away. I meant Deflategate, not you. Okay, Gabe?
That's okay. I don't take this personally.
You understand? Okay, so you read the opinion or the ruling. What do you make of it, Gabe?
Well, the NFL could not have written a better opinion themselves. Other than the dissenting opinion, this is more I think the NFL could possibly have asked for, because it upholds the commissioner's broad powers under the CBA in the strongest possible terms I could have thought of. And there was a possibility that even if the NFL won this case, that they might send it back to Judge Berman to decide some of the issues that he left undecided initially. But the Second Circuit said, no, we'll decide those here too, and we'll decide those in favor of the NFL. So this was after a series of losses by the NFL in these player discipline cases. This is a huge win for the league.
So what did the dissenting opinion say? I did not read that. What did the dissenting opinion say in this, Gabe?
The dissenting opinion mirrored Judge Berman's opinion, saying that, yes, the commissioner has broad powers, but he exceeded the scope of those powers, and that he wasn't given proper notice, and that there were just fatal flaws in the way the league went about doing this, and that no player before had ever been suspended for this type of misconduct, and so therefore Tom Brady should not have been suspended for this type of misconduct.
But two other judges felt otherwise, and that's the end of that in terms of this particular part of the proceeding. Gabe.
Right, majority rule.
Majority
so the
rules.
dissenting opinion is perhaps notable because he might be able to muster up enough support if the Players Association decides to take the next step to appeal this to the entire Second Circuit.
Right.
But that is a real long shot.
Before we get to that, I want to just dig in a little bit more into the opinion that was handed down today. Was there anything in there about the nuts and bolts of the case, the actual culpability of Brady? Or was it really all about the collective bargaining agreement and what the commissioner is allowed to do based on their reading of it?
It was both. There was a lot about the nuts and bolts, but no decisions or judgments made about the underlying misconduct. They didn't have to say, we think Tom Brady did this or didn't do this. All they had to say was that Tom Brady was on notice that these things might get him suspended, and this was well within the commissioner's broad authority under the CBA, again, under the power that the players gave to him during the last negotiations. And before that, this is well within the commissioner's discretion to hand down a 4-game suspension for the misconduct. And they made a big deal out of the destruction of the cell phone and saying that it's not credible that Tom Brady believed that there was nothing wrong with destroying a cell phone in the middle of an investigation, no matter what access they might have had to text messages. So this is nothing that anyone can point to say, these two federal judges think Tom Brady is guilty. Instead, they said there is enough there for the commissioner to have concluded that Tom Brady is guilty.
So in other words, the offices of Silver, Bettman, and Manfred are happy today as well, Gabe?
They are happy. None are as happy as the office of Roger Goodell, because he's the only commissioner that has this broad power. He's the only commissioner that has the authority to hear his own appeal. But yes, this is a win for all leagues, but the biggest win certainly for the NFL.
Gabe Feldman, director of Tulane Sports Law, joining me here on The Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to the appeals process. What can Brady do now?
So his options are very limited. He could try to appeal to the entire Second Circuit, which is called an en banc appeal. The chances of that appeal being granted, put aside whether he would win the appeal, but just the chances of the court deciding to hear the appeal are very slim. And then if that gets denied, he can appeal to the entire U.S. Supreme Court, and the chances of that being heard are even slimmer. So this is close to an end. I know it's hard to believe. I know it seems like this has been with us forever, but this is as close to an end as we could possibly be, barring some long shot Second Circuit en banc or Supreme Court decision to hear the case again.
Well, what about a stay of the ruling? I'm reading about that. Is that the same thing, Gabe?
Well, that would be temporary. I mean, that would be temporary. That just allows Tom Brady to participate in activities, maybe if this bleeds into the regular season, to allow him to stay on the field. But it wouldn't allow him to overturn the suspension by itself. That would just hit the pause button.
When would the Second Circuit say, okay, we'll get it's 11 judges, right? En banc, the whole thing?
21 is
21?
Circuit, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So basically, the reason why it's slim is just to get, all 21 judges on the same page, schedule-wise?
You don't have to get all 20 of them, but a certain number of them have to vote to decide to hear the case.
So how does that happen? How long does that take?
They would have to file a petition, the Players Association would, and Tom Brady, to even have the Second Circuit consider that, and then the judges would make that determination. And the timing is anyone's guess. I mean, who knew that this case would be decided today? I think we all thought it would be decided later on in the summer. So there are a lot of question marks, but at this point, the questions themselves are so unlikely to be answered. Just because the courts are so unlikely to hear these appeals. So possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I was about to say. So what are the odds? I mean, how often does en banc happen? I don't know if I'm using that properly, but I'm trying my best.
Your pronunciation was outstanding.
Well, my father was a French teacher. So how often do these appeals, the 21 judges or a majority of them, say, yeah, let's do it? How often does that happen?
Very rare. I think it's in the low single-digit percentage points. I haven't seen the exact data on how often they're heard, but it's very, very rare for these types of cases to be heard. I think particularly in this situation, again, the only thing that might give Tom Brady a silver lining is that there is a dissent, and the dissent is from the chief judge, and so that may be an indication that enough other judges on the circuit would agree with the chief judge.
Now, if you do that, does that mean you have to forego appealing to the Supreme Court, or do you have to wait for an answer from them first before you go to the whole enchilada in
This
D.C.?
would be the first step before going to the whole enchilada, if we're referring to the Supreme Court as the enchilada.
Yes, we are referring to the Supreme Court as the enchilada.
Again,
are you saying they would not, Judge Ginsburg would not appreciate being referred to as part of the whole enchilada?
Remember, that's Justice Ginsburg.
Pardon.
But yes, I don't think she would appreciate it.
Boy, I'm stepping in it now.
I would have to revoke your honorary degree.
But here's how I'm going to try and make up for it. And this is a serious question. If there are only 8 Supreme Court justices, right? If there are only 8 and they split 4-4, if they do agree to hear this, then it goes back to the ruling that just took place today, correct?
Right. If we get to that point, I would be shocked.
Why?
I mean, because it's just the Supreme Court. This is not the type of case the Supreme Court hears. There is no circuit split. This is nothing of constitutional importance. It's of significant importance to everybody in New England and throughout the NFL and to the NFL Constitution, but not to the big Constitution. This is just not the type of case that gets heard by the court.
So the whole enchilada Constitution is essentially what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. And then on this subject then, so you think Brady's going to wind up missing the first 4 games of the season, based on what you're saying right now?
At this point, it looks much more likely than not that he's going to miss the first 4 games of the season. Again, stranger things have happened, and some of them have happened in this very case. But that's where we're headed right now, absolutely.
I think you're required to say it's more probable than not, Gabe.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to.
You missed that opportunity. No, you missed your opportunity to go Wells on me.
I blew it.
Well, for future conversations you have, maybe on NFL Network or something like that, you're free to use that. Okay.
Well, I appreciate it.
And while I have my lawyer on the phone, what's going on with Manziel, best you can tell, based on what you're hearing out of Texas and what this means for him? The grand jury that didn't indict, but because they didn't yet, that means they probably will, from what I'm reading. What are you hearing about that, Gabe?
That's all I've heard at this point. And frankly, all I've been able to focus on is Tom Brady. So once I get off the phone with you, then I can see if it's more probable than not that Johnny Manziel will be indicted.
There you go. Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate it. Thank you for calling.
Pleasure,
you bet. At Sports Law Guy on Twitter. Go follow him. He's a great follow.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.